Jeff's Superscript is brought to you by Black Cat Comics and Collectibles, in my opinion, the best comic shop and clubhouse on the internet. Follow them at Black Cat Burbank on Instagram and join their claim sales on Tuesdays for new books and Fridays for back issues. And don't forget to ask about joining their Stray Cats Club for special perks.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either April 13th or 14th, 2021, and I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? Now, these videos, typically speaking, have come in at over 30 minutes, sometimes around 35 minutes. I think that that's way too long. So I am going to change up some of the content in this video this week. Let me know down in the comments what you think about these changes. We'll go over them a little bit more later in the video. First, let's start off by taking a look at my pick from 2 weeks ago, which was Shadecraft #1. And I asked myself the question, was this a worthy pick to be my just one book pick for the week? And the answer is sure. Sure it was. It was good. I liked it. It didn't blow me away. You know, the first issue didn't really show me all of the potential that the series has, but it teed up the storyline and the premise really well. The art was great. The story was interesting, but it didn't blow me away. It did well on the secondary market, almost right out the gate. People were paying $12 and $15, I think it was, for a copy of issue #1. So people are interested in it. Apparently it's already been optioned by Netflix, I believe. So yeah, it was a good pick. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But part of the reason that it's just a sure for me is that I immediately, after reading Shadecraft, I immediately read Crossover 5 and Department of Truth #7. And what I realized reading those three books back to back to back was that Department of Truth is so good. I know if you've been watching my videos, you know what a big fan I am of James Tynion IV. But when I read these three books back to back to back, it made me realize Department of Truth is so good. So if I had to do it over again, I might have picked Department of Truth instead, but that might just be because I have a general bias for the amazingly high quality of content from that book. But for a new book to try out, Shadecraft was a great choice. I'm really glad I picked it up, and I will be continuing to read it with issue #2 and continuing after that. All right, let's move on to the next section of this video, which is my cover pick for this week. And similar to the past 2 weeks, I've had a difficult time coming up with a cover pick. There hasn't been much that really jumps out at me recently. I haven't seen a lot of the usual suspects that I love for my cover picks. But then I saw this one and I went ahead and decided to make it my cover pick for the week. It is Wonder Woman 771, the cover B, by Joshua Middleton. Yes, once again, we have Joshua Middleton doing a Wonder Woman cover, and it is amazing. I must admit, this facially is not the most attractive Wonder Woman that I've ever seen, and frankly, I'm going to admit it. I like my Wonder Woman especially attractive. But this was so expertly rendered and drawn by Joshua Middleton. It's just so cool, and she looks so powerful, and that armor is amazing, and the fur in the shoulder there, and the snow environment that she's in. It's just really, really well done. And because of all of those things, I had to go ahead and make this book my cover pick for the week. All right, let's move forward and start taking a look at this week's books that are up for contention for my just one book pick. Usually I go over every single book that I find interesting, and I at least talk about it briefly. I'm not going to do that anymore. It's too many books. If you're interested in detailed descriptions of many of the books that are coming out this week, I invite you to check out my FOC video. This one right up here is the one that pertains to the books that are coming out this week. If you want to hear the full descriptions of many, many, many books, check out my FOC video. In this video, starting with this video, I am going to only talk about 6 different books. You notice in my thumbnail I have pictures of 6 different books. Those are the 6 books that I'm going to talk about, and only those 6 books. So let's go ahead and try this out. This list of books that I'm about to give you is in no particular order. The first book I want to mention to you that sounded interesting to me this week is a book called Jenny Zero from Dark Horse Comics. This is the first issue of it. The description reads, "Meet Jenny Tetsuo, the hard-drinking, hard-partying daughter of beloved superhero Mega Commander Zero. After washing out as the military's top kaiju killer, Jenny Zero now lives the celebutante life with her hotel heiress and publicist best friend, Dana Sheridan. But when the massive creatures return, Jenny must decide if she can sober up and save the world." This sounds like a fun, interesting... I kind of like anti-heroes. I like people who do not necessarily fit the mold for the hero. So this is interesting to me that this is a drinking, partying, washed out kaiju killer who now has to step up and be the hero that, you know, they always hoped, I guess, that they could be. So it sounds interesting to me. Might be worth checking out this week. The next book that I want to mention to you is Lock and Key / The Sandman Universe, Hell and Gone, #1. Here's the description. "If you think you can unlock the gates of hell and just invite yourself in, you must be dreaming. The epic crossover between 2 of the most beloved fantasy universes in comics begins here. John Jack Locke is 10 years dead, but that hasn't stopped him from posting the occasional letter home from hell. Now Mary Locke will do anything to save her brother's soul, including cut a deal with Roderick Burgess, the most evil man in England, to search for answers in the House of Mystery and risk the walking nightmare known as the Corinthian to find help in a disintegrating kingdom of dreams." I have never read a Lock and Key comic book. I've maybe read one Sandman universe comic book. These are not properties that I know well personally. I've watched the television show Lock and Key, and I thought it was very good and very interesting premise and a very interesting world that they created. And what I know of the Sandman universe sounds very interesting and very creative. And as this description says, the epic crossover between 2 of the most beloved fantasy universes in comics begins here. Even though I am not personally familiar with these universes, I know how loved they are. And I know what a high quality product has come out of these 2 universes. So the fact that they found a way to blend these 2 universes together is extremely intriguing to me. If I was looking to pick up a new title, I would absolutely check this out because it sounds very interesting. However, I'm trying not to pick up new books if I can say no at all. But if you're a fan of Sandman or a fan of Lock and Key, and especially if you're a fan of both, this is one that you must pick up. The next book that I want to mention to you is Kanto and the City of Giants, #1 from IDW Publishing. The description is, "Kanto has surprised, delighted, and moved readers with tales of the clockwork hero fighting for love, his people, and hope. In this special Kanto series, our titular hero reunites with the giant guardians of Dis, Fra, and Ba, as well as other friends and foes, to recruit the kingdom of giants to his quest to defeat the Shrouded Man." So, Kanto is a series that I have been hearing a lot about, as you know, over the past several months. In particular, a YouTube channel that I like a lot here, Simpleman's Comics. They've been banging the Kanto drum for a long time. And they're the ones that got me excited and interested in Something is Killing the Children, which I thank them very much for. So when they say that they like something a lot, I take that very seriously. But I've been ignoring Kanto, in part because, like I mentioned with the last book, I am not interested in picking up new titles if I can at all say no. But Kanto sounds like a really fun read. It looks like it could be something that could be good for readers of all ages, but that doesn't exclude adults. But especially now that Kanto has been optioned by, I believe it's Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's production company to be made into an animated feature, now I think is especially the time that if you've ever been interested in checking out Kanto, check it out now. Try to pick up, I think there's been 2 miniseries that have come out. It might be hard to pick up floppies from the original miniseries, but you could probably buy it in trade. You could probably pick up the floppies from the second series, and now this is the beginning of a third. So if you've been interested in Kanto, you might want to go ahead and start picking up this book right here, because it appears that Kanto is here to stay. The next book that I want to mention to you is Batman, the Detective, #1 from DC Comics. Here's the description. An epic tale begins that will take Batman on a harrowing, action-packed European adventure in a new miniseries by superstar creators Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert. A horrific tragedy in the United Kingdom sends a very personal and deadly message to the Dark Knight, one that will draw Batman out of Gotham City to investigate. From the moment he lands in Europe, Batman will face a difficult investigation and unheard of adversaries, and find the assistance of a partner once more, all in the hunt for the villain known as Equilibrium. New villains, new allies, a thrilling overseas adventure begins for the Dark Knight, starring with an extra-sized 26-page debut story. I mean, Batman's amazing. These kind of one-off stories featuring Batman can also be really amazing. So I'm hoping that Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert will present to us an amazing Batman mini-series. I think it could be really entertaining and really cool of a read. And also, they promise you, a new villain, new allies. So I think places like this are good places to drop in new first appearances of characters. Sometimes these type of side stories, the characters in them kind of go nowhere. But I mean, frankly, if they're cool enough and interesting enough, they will see a life outside of this series. Once again, however, I will admit, I'm not going to be picking this up. I'm going to say no because I can say no. But of all the ones so far that I've talked about today that I'm saying no to because I can say no to them, this is the one that I'm most like, yeah, but should I just go ahead and pick it up? It's going to be, I think it's a 6-part series. It could be really good. I like Tom Taylor. Maybe I should just pick it up. And who knows? Maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, I will just go ahead and I'll just be like, you know what? Forget it. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm just gonna go for it. The more I think about it, the more I think I am going to do that. So it's definitely one that I would consider for yourself picking up as well. The next book I want to give an honorable mention though, a Batman honorable mention to Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries. This is issue #1 of 12. It's a limited series. It's only $3 for the book, which for DC right now is super cheap. And it might be a fun thing for the younger reader in your life to share a Batman Scooby-Doo story. I just wanted to point it out and give it a little bit of an honorable mention. The next book I want to mention to you is one that, frankly, it was between this and my last book that I'm going to mention were neck and neck in who I was going to pick for my pick for the week. I mean, even right now, as I'm about to say it, I'm like, should I switch it to the other one? Because they really are neck and neck, but I'm just going to stick with it. My very, very, very close runner-up to my pick this week is Thor number 14 from Donny Cates. Here's the description. The finale of Prey and the fight for Thor's life. All-Father Thor breaks out of his prison, but Donald Blake has amassed more power than the King of Asgard can know. One thing is certain. When the hammer comes down, only one man will remain standing. This Donald Blake storyline has been really, really cool. I think it was, in typical fashion, Donny Cates took his knowledge of past comic books and thought of a cool story to incorporate into the past. There was this Donald Blake character, Thor's human, when Thor wasn't Thor on Earth, he was Donald Blake, and Donald Blake would hit his cane on the ground and boom, he'd become Thor. What happened to Donald Blake when Thor stopped using Donald Blake as like his kind of placeholder on Earth? Well, he was in this world and he lost his mind, and now he's back seeking his revenge. It has been a really cool story, especially because Donald Blake has been able to make himself very, very powerful. But it appears that in the last issue, he may have done something that was a critical mistake that's going to give Thor the leverage he needs to, most likely, defeat Donald Blake in the end. But it's been a really great story, and I've really enjoyed reading every issue of it. So I'm excited to see its finale here in Thor number 14. But that brings me to the last book that I am going to talk about this week. And this is the book that I would pick to buy this week if I could buy just one book. And that book is Spider-Man, Spider's Shadow from Marvel Comics. Here's the description. What if Peter Parker became Venom? Peter Parker once put on an alien suit that nearly destroyed his life, but what if he'd never taken it off? Ignoring every warning, Spidey embraces the dark symbiote. Haunted by terrible nightmares and exhausted by an endless barrage of bad guys, Peter can't seem to catch a break these days. So when the Hobgoblin attacks, he finds a hero at the end of his rope and vulnerable to new dark impulses. Spider-Man is about to change his rules, but is it truly Peter who is in charge? Creative powerhouses Chip Zdarsky, Pasquale Ferry, and Matt Hollingsworth bring you a terrifying tale of a Peter Parker possessed and on the edge. This sounds really, really interesting to me. I don't think that this book, and a lot of times you've noticed in these videos, I think I at least consider the spec potential of a book. I don't think this book is going to have any spec potential. Its potential for me lies in the fact that it could be a very cool and interesting story written by a very good writer, Chip Zdarsky. The more Chip Zdarsky that I read, the more and more I appreciate the work that he's doing. The bigger and bigger fan of his I become. He wrote a Spider-Man story that I've mentioned before, and it was called A Spider-Man Life Story. And the premise was that it started with Spider-Man in the 60s as a teenager, and then it moved through his life chronologically to his death. So in the 70s, he was in his 20s, in his 80s, in his 30s, in the 90s, in his 40s, and so on and so forth until the end of his life. That is a really cool and interesting premise for the story. We'll probably never see the full life story of Spider-Man, but Chip Zdarsky told it to us in the book Life Story. So that was a really cool idea, and I think that he has another really cool idea here. What if Spider-Man had become Venom? What if he hadn't broken free of the alien symbiote's control and he had given in to his more evil, so to speak, impulses? Spider-Man, Peter Parker is a bit of a goody-goody. He's like the definition of a do-gooder in a lot of ways. So it's be interesting to see the struggle that he would have to endure if he began to allow the evil impulses brought on by the alien symbiote to take over. And then what does it take to push him over the edge, to push him out of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man realm and into the Venom realm? I think that this could be a really cool and interesting story. Strictly a great, great read. And because I'm so interested in Chip Zdarsky's work and how he would handle the circumstances that he's presenting in this title, those are the reasons why this week, if I could buy just one book, in a week that has Thor in it, and I really like this Thor title, if I could buy just one book, I would buy Spider-Man, Spider's Shadow. All right, so that's my video for this week. Hopefully it's a lot shorter than 30 minutes. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this shorter format. Do you like it because you can watch it and kind of get the highlights of what I think about the week and then you can move on with your life? Or are you like, Jeff, 35 minutes is a long time, but you gave a lot of great information and I like getting all of that information. Let me know your opinions about all of that down in the comments. And by the way, I remind you, if you're looking for more information about more books, more of the books that are coming out this week, I refer you back to my FOC video that I mentioned earlier in this video. If you like the shorter version, like I said, let me know down in the comments, but also feel free to hit that like button and let me know that you appreciated the work that I've put into this video. And finally, if you haven't already subscribed, hitting the subscribe guy right here is a great way to do that. And make sure you go ahead and hit the notification bell so you're informed when I post new videos. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.